The role of the 21st century president. The powers of the president.
The President of the United States
is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Services.
The President is in command of all 5 branches of the Armed Services, which includes the Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. Even though the President is in command of the major branches, he or she does not have the power to declare war. The President can order wartime maneuvers, such as calling airstrikes on locations, deciding where troops are to be deployed, and stationing troops in the attempt of domestic terrorism or violence on U.S. soil.
The President of the United States can pass and veto laws.
A law is passed by a legislature and given to an executive for a formal decision. A law can be passed into order by the President or subsequently be rejected. If the President feels the law to be unconstitutional, the President can veto the law. There are 3 forms of the veto: a veto, pocket veto, and line item veto. With a veto, the President has the right and authority to reject a piece of legislation and return it to Congress for revision.
The President of the United States has the role of Chief of State.
The President has a specific plan implemented during his or her term and will ensure the plan runs accordingly. As Chief of State, the President implements policy, supervises the executive branch of government, and appropriately appoints and removes executive officials. The Chief of State acts as a symbol for the United States of America and represents the nation at foreign ceremonies.
In order to become president, a candidate must receive 270 electoral votes. Despite its name, the Electoral College is not a literal college. During the voting periods, the citizens vote for electors who then vote for the president. The term Electoral College is referring to the group of electors chosen by a larger body. There are a total of 538 electoral votes, which is the number of people in Congress. These electoral votes are divided among the 50 states and the District of Columbia. Each state or district starts with 3 electoral votes, and the rest is based on its population. Most states have a winner-take-all system wherein all the electors go to the presidential candidate who won the popular vote in that region. If the electoral vote is tied at 269 votes per candidate, the House of Representatives breaks the tie. However, not each representative gets an equal vote. All the representatives for each state have to come together and collectively vote as a state. This causes very unbalanced proportions, as 10 of the states equal more than 50% of the population but receive only 20% of the votes, whereas the other 40 states account to less than 50% of the population and receive 80% of the votes. In a tie, the vice president is voted on by the Senate and can be a candidate from a different party than the president. This method is also used when there is a third party or if no candidate receives 270 votes. If the House of Representatives cannot choose the president, then the vice president is the president. If the House of Representatives and Senate cannot choose a vice president or president, then the Speaker of the House is the president. The biggest problem with the Electoral College is the unfair vote distribution due to the fact that each state gets at least 3 votes, even if they don't have as many people. Larger states lose votes, as smaller states gain votes they shouldn't have based on their population. 1 vote in a large state is worth less than 1 vote in a smaller state. Also, with the Electoral College, candidates spend the most money and time on states that have close races due to the winner-takes-all system. Candidates can become president even if they didn't win the popular vote. This happened in the 2000 elections with Al Gore versus Bush. This happened 3 more times, with the presidents resulting in Rutherford Hayes, Benjamin Harrison, and John Quincy Adams. Also in the electoral colleges, the electors don't always have to vote for who they say they will.
Semi-presidentialism is a system in which there are 2 executives, both the president, the head of state, and the prime minister, the head of government. To appoint these officers, the president is voted for, and the prime minister can be elected in 3 different ways. The president can directly choose the prime minister, the president can choose the prime minister and the legislature confirms the decision, or the legislature can directly appoint the prime minister and the president is a figurehead. In semi-presidentialism, the executives have some different powers. One is the dismissal of government. and this power can be performed by either the president and legislature or just the legislature. The government can be dismissed when it fails to perform, if it does not act as a check on the president, or when the president and government cannot work together. Another power is the dissolution of legislature, which is a political reset, and it allows for a different setup if the government changes, and it can also be used if the president cannot effectively work with the legislature so that he can make a change and get a legislature that he can work with effectively.
The French government is an example of a semi-presidential government. There are two parts within the government, the executive branch and the legislative branch. Within the executive branch, there's the president, the prime minister, and the cabinet members. The president of France has the power to conclude treaties, assume powers during a national emergency, and is the commander-in-chief of all armed forces. The president of France also has the power to name the prime minister. However, they have no power when it comes to lawmaking. They can only make recommendations to Parliament and the prime minister. The Prime Minister directs and supervises the operations of the government, implements laws, and has the authority to introduce new bills in Parliament. The Cabinet consists of a council of ministers appointed by the President after consulting the Prime Minister. These are senior members of the government and work with the Secretaries of States. Within the legislative branch, there's the Senate and the National Assembly. The National Assembly can submit and amend bills, vote on bills, as well as various other decisions. Senate can do the same, however, the main difference is that the National Assembly has the last word in the legislative process. In conclusion, the 21st century American president plays a vital role in keeping the nation running. As the United States is a federal republic, the citizens also play an important role in choosing the president through their electoral college.